Kitty man, I had a flow. Drip that water, call that boss. You try my squad and they gon' be in cost. You better be prepared to take a loss. I left my enemies dripping, but it ain't sauce. It ain't sauce, no it ain't sauce. Yeah, enemies dripping, but it ain't sauce. No it ain't sauce, no it ain't sauce. Yeah, enemies dripping, but it ain't sauce. It ain't sauce, it ain't sauce.
Hello people, it's your boy Arthur Smitty and welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we will be reviewing Batman the Caped Crusader, the animated series. Now, I've got a lot to say about this show. It's a lot of controversy, it's a lot of good and bad. Yeah, so we're gonna get straight to it. So this might be a little bit of a long one, but I'm gonna try and make it as quick as possible. So I'm going to give like some quick thoughts, and then I'm gonna go through each episode. I'm gonna go through each episode pretty quick because it's only like 10 episodes. So yes, and I might actually start doing this more. I might actually start doing these types of videos where I go through each episode more. But let's get started. So off rip, let me just say this show is a spiritual successor to Batman the Animated Series. Let me just get that out the way because I already know people. It's not a sequel. It's not a part. It's not this. It's not that. The show is a spiritual successor, especially since Bruce Timm is a part of it, and Bruce Timm himself has said it. Okay, this show is about Batman set in the 1940s in his early years. So around like I'm gonna say like year 2, year 3, like year 2, year 3, not year 1, like year 2, year 3. And Batman goes up against some new cases and solves some new crimes. And this is it's not just Bruce Timm, it's also Matt Reeves and jjabrams. So off rip, I'm gonna just say most of the positives that I like about the show, and then most of my negatives will come as I go through each episode. So off rip, I'm gonna just say the easy positives. The animation is really good. The animation, I think, is really good. When I first watched the trailer, I thought the animation was a little bit iffy. Batman's appearance wasn't bad to me. I thought it was okay. It's the first appearance outfit, just instead of the purple gloves, he has black gloves, which I think that was a perfect change because I did not want Batman running around with purple gloves. But the animation is great. I think the characters look pretty good. It almost gives me that season 4, Batman the New Adventures. It gives me kind of like that. Or almost like a darker take on the Invincible animation. Just a little bit. Another thing I will say is the voice acting is pretty good. I think the voice acting and the voice cast is pretty good. Let me look here. What's his name? Hamish Linklater. He's the voice of Batman. He does a pretty good job. I think pretty much everyone here. Jamie, I didn't know John DiMaggio played Bullock. That was new to me. Gary Anthony Williams, Uncle Ruckus is in here. Toby Stevens, he's in here. We have a pretty good voice cast here, and they do pretty much a really good job. I don't have any issues with the voice cast. They pretty much nail it when it comes to voice acting. As for like Batman, I think Batman, when Batman is in the show, I think the Batman stuff is pretty good. I think Batman, when it comes to his detective work and trying to use technology of the 1940s, it works. I really enjoy it, and him trying to find other ways to solve crimes and get through and trying to lockpick stuff or try to navigate stuff. Like, for example, in this show, Batman doesn't have a back computer. He has this, I'm going to say like a dry erase, like a big dry erase board, and this substitutes as the back computer. And then it's like a see-through one, so he just has like the map, like a big map of Gotham on it. And then behind him is like, I'm trying to picture it out for you guys. Behind him, he has like a stack of books. He has like books. And then he has like a little chemistry lab over there. And then he has like another desk where he does like more investigations. He has like papers and files lined up. So, and then in like the far left, it's like the little doorway where the stairs comes down to the Batcave. Sadly, we don't actually see how he goes from Wayne Manor. There's never a moment where we see him like pull like a clock, or see how he actually goes from Wayne Manor to the Batcave. I wish we got that, but we didn't. It usually just shows him in the Batcave or just shows him in Wayne Manor. But like I said, as for the Batman stuff, Batman is pretty good. Really, the other problems mostly come with everything else. When the show isn't talking or in reference to Batman, like when we go into other stuff. Let me say, this show, and I'm gonna talk about this because this is very important, because Matt Reeves, J.J. Abrams, and most importantly, Bruce Timm have made it very clear that this show was supposed to take place in the 1940s. And in this show, there are a lot of moments, especially when it comes to the feminine side, the feminism and everything. I can already see these comments about to go crazy, that they kind of bring a lot of stuff from the 2020s into 1940, and it just doesn't really work. And I know people are going to say, it's an adaptation. You can make changes. You can do this. You can do that. It doesn't need to be fully accurate. Yes, you're right. But the thing about that, hold on. Need some more light. But the thing about that is, Bruce had made it clear that it was going to be 1940s. There's only going to be 1940s elements. This is during like World War and all of that, the Great Depression. It's going to be during all of those times. So Batman's going to be having to deal with problems that take place in the 1940s. And the thing about that is, he doesn't really do that. That doesn't really happen. There's some mentioning of it, but not really. And most of the problems are stuff that are dealt with now. And not to be giving anyone slack, but I don't really think any of these problems have to do with Matt Reeves. I feel like most of these problems have to do with J.J. Abrams and Bruce Timm. Because there's a lot, especially J.J. Abrams, because a lot of the modern stuff that's being brought in just doesn't make sense and doesn't really work for a show that's supposed to be 1940s. So we're going to get started with these are going to be quick synopses of each episode. The first episode, and I need to get it out the way. I need to just get it out the way. The first episode is with the Penguin. And this is the first introduction to all the characters and pretty much. So let me just say, in episode 1, we get introduced to the Penguin, we get introduced to Barbara Gordon, you get introduced to Batman, you get introduced to Commissioner Gordon, you get introduced to Harvey Dent. Who else is in here? Looking at my notes. Rupert Thorne. So let me just say, there's certain characterizations of the characters that I just don't like. I don't like how all of the cops are pretty much corrupted. Like, pretty much every cop is corrupted in the show. Like, there is no really decent cop. The only decent cop, and once we get into like episode like 2, is Renee Montoya. If you know who Renee Montoya is, she is a pretty known cop that works on GCPD. She's a pretty decent cop, and then the only other 2 good cops is Barbara Gordon and Commissioner Gordon. Now, the characterizations of certain characters just doesn't work for me, and so let me just get Penguin out the way. I don't like the Penguin. Okay. People can hate me for this. You can say I'm sexist, I hate women, whatever. I don't care. Because this is just straight facts, okay? In the 1940s, women took very pride in how they look, and women didn't act a certain way or do certain things. And women dressed a certain way and really cared about how they look. In this show, the Penguin is a female. Now, the Penguin pretty much acts exactly how he usually does. It's just except this time the Penguin is a girl and now he can sing and dance. But the thing about my issue with the Penguin isn't that necessarily that he's a girl, is that you basically made him look like the Penguin, but he's just wearing a wig and lipstick. And my other issue is, it's clear that they made this for like a certain agenda or a certain set of people, because they have this I'm just be up front. They have this ugly looking penguin woman dancing. They have her dancing, right? And you have all these men and all these women like, I want to be like you, and let me, and the men like, can I get your number? Can we go out? Can I talk to you? Can I be? And I'm just sitting here like, that's not, like, in the 1940s, that's just not how it would, that's not at all what would happen. Not at all. Not even close. It just, no. And then you have this beautiful woman that is voicing this character with her nice voice, and it's coming out of this monstrosity, and I'm just sitting here like, how in the world does that work? Realistically speaking, to make the penguin quick, for all of y'all that know who Zatanna is the magician. I feel like that's how the penguin should look. He should have looked, if you're going to make the penguin a girl and do this gender swap, you should have made it exactly how it would have been in the 1940s. The penguin would look something like how Zatanna looks. A pretty slender woman, especially if you're going to have her singing and dancing and you're going to have all these men and women praise her. That's how she should look. She should be more like that, because that's more realistic to how it was in the 1940s. Having this ugly woman, and I'm supposed to sit here and act like, oh yeah, that's exactly, that's how it would be, man. That's perfect, you know? Like, that's just not. And actually, even in today, that's not at all. Like, there's some people with certain preferences, but realistically, no, that's not at all. Anyone, you have a girl that looks like a penguin. Like, no, that she literally looks like a penguin lady. Like, does not look good at all. There's no way men and women will be flocking or wanting to be here. Like, no way. Especially not in the 1940s. Come on. Like, not at all. And then you also make her have kids, and then she ends up killing her kids, and then you just make her so she, like, I didn't like the penguin. Like, the penguin's a villain. You're not supposed to like him, but he's still supposed to be likable. You get what I'm saying? You just don't make her interesting. And as for that, you know what? I'm gonna kind of switch up. I'm gonna go through the episodes, but I'm gonna not go through the episodes, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna just go with each character. So next on this list would be Barbara. So Barbara in this show is pretty much the main character. Batman doesn't really get that much screen time. There's really only, like, based on this, on my notes and when I'm looking at the episodes, Batman really has the most appearances. Like, out of all of the episodes, Batman has, like, maybe, like, his appearances, he appears the most in probably episode I would say the Gentleman Ghost episode is the most we see Batman. And I will also say maybe the episode when Batman goes to the circus and meets the doctor, Leslie Tompkins. In that episode, I think that was like episode 8? Yeah, we meet Leslie Tompkins. That's where we get the most of Batman and Bruce Wayne. Oh, and in the Catwoman episode. Like, so out of 10 episodes, only 3 episodes really hone in on Batman. Other than that, Batman's like a side character. Mostly, this show should be called Gotham, the Cape Crusade, and the Cape Crusader, because you don't really get that much of Batman. Not really. We don't really go more or anything into depth about Batman. Like, Batman is kind of just there. Like, it's literally about the cops and, like, the mob and everything, and then, like, we eventually get to a scene, and then Batman appears. Or we cut, it's like long drawn out scenes with the cops and everything, and then you get Batman interrogating someone. It's like 2 or 3 scenes, and then it's mostly just cops. But back to Barbara Gordon, I don't like how they did Barbara Gordon, me personally. There's a little moment where I get that, okay. I get that Commissioner Gordon was black in the Batman, but like I said again, if you're doing 1940s, this is coming from someone that is black. A lot of these gender stuff wouldn't happen. A lot of these skin color stuff wouldn't really happen. Not really, no. Yeah, it wouldn't really happen. No. But I digress. The skin change is fine. it's fine. It is what it is. But my most issue is that Barbara isn't really interesting. You know, I don't like that they made her an adult. I don't really like that she's a cop. The only time I really liked Barbara Gordon as a cop was in Batman Beyond, when you set it way in the future after freaking Commissioner Gordon has died, Batman is old, and you got a new Batman, and then she becomes the new Commissioner Gordon. That's really the only time I like that. I didn't really like that in the Lego Batman movie either. I did not like her being a cop or the commissioner yet that early on. Me personally, I would just like it if you just had kept it as, oh, Barbara is a teenager. Barbara's a teenager and she goes to school. Barbara's a teenager. She eventually comes across Batman as Commissioner Gordon is doing work, and then she eventually becomes Batgirl. The regular story. You could try and mix it up, like switch it up a little bit, but this switch I just don't like. And they just focus too much on her. And it's just like, especially early on, you wouldn't know this character is Barbara unless I told you or someone else told you, oh, that's Barbara Gordon. The same thing with Commissioner Gordon. At first, I thought Commissioner Gordon was Lucius Fox. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I can't be the only one. Like, I thought that man was Lucius Fox until I saw Lucius Fox later in the episode where he appears as Bruce's lawyer. But at first, I thought Commissioner Gordon was Lucius Fox. Commissioner Gordon's very underplayed. Like, he's not utilized very well in this show. I did not like Commissioner Gordon at all. And there's a lot of moments where they try to hint at, oh, the black people are so much better, like, should not be opposed to the white and the rich people. Like, you should not be opposed to that. And it's just like, that's not stuff that would happen, like, in the 1940s. Not really, no. Hold on one second. Just had to text my mom. But anyway, like I was saying, it's a lot of stuff that wouldn't like happen. It's a lot of stuff that would happen now that would not happen in the 1940s. Like, another example is a lot of the feminism, like with like if this was like a Batman that took place now, I would get this. I would be fine with this. But I wouldn't. It wouldn't really matter. But because Bruce Timm hammered us in that this is 1940s, you're only getting 1940s shit, I have to go in on it. Harley Quinn is also unrecognizable. She goes from a white Caucasian blonde girl to an Asian lady who is now trying to kidnap other like people in like that go to her and turn their problems against them. And she dresses up as a Harley Quinn just because she's trying to oppress all the negativity with women and all the negativity that they give back with. And I'm just like, why is this an issue? Like, I mean, why is this being so focused and hammered on? Like, and then that was like episode 5, which I think episode 5 might be the worst episode. But they hammered that in a lot. Like, I was cool with Harley just being like a therapist. That's fine. That's totally fine. Because at this point in time, especially after playing Suicide Squad, I've become numb to Harley. Like, I don't really pay that much attention to Harley like that anymore. She's kind of just there to me now. And I was cool with her being like a psychiatrist, especially in the I think that was like the Catwoman episode where she was helping Bruce because Bruce punched somebody because someone said something about Bruce's parents. Like, that was okay. I was cool for her being a psychiatrist and not being a part of the joke. I'm fine with that. But her just rushing, then the next episode just rushes her to just being Harley Quinn, and she's just being evil pretty much just because, and she's trying to appease women rights and these women rights that are going on. It's just, whatever. I don't care that you made Harley a lesbian. I don't care that she's dating Detective Montoya, Renee Montoya. I don't care. It's whatever. But a lot of those women type problems wouldn't happen. It's a lot of stuff that happens that takes place now that would not be in the 1940s. As I'm gonna keep restating because it's a lot of it. Another major issue I will also say is as we keep going down in the episodes, I don't like that, especially like once we get to episode 9 and episode 10. I don't really like that. I don't really like that. They keep doing this thing where they make Harvey Bullock a bad guy, and it just irks my soul. Like, can we stop it? Can we stop it? Can we stop it? Please, please. Can we stop making Harvey Bullock a bad guy? Harvey Bullock? Okay, listen. Harvey Bullock is a guy that does a lot of stuff with the law that may not be right, but he's still someone of the law. He's still someone that works within the law. You know, like he may do some very outrageous stuff, but he's still someone within the law. You know, and he still works by the law. He still works with Commissioner Gordon as a great part of his team. I don't know why this has been a thing where we got this in the first Batman movie with Michael Keaton. We got this in Batman Begins. We kind of got this in the Gotham TV show. But then eventually he became good. And now we're getting again where they keep making Harvey Bullock either a bad guy and he's like working for the mob, or they'll make these like certain characters like Detective Alcard, I think that's what his name is. And then this other guy, the other guy, I forgot his name from Batman Begins, where they look like Harvey Bullock, but they're not Harvey Bullock, and then they just be bad guys that work for the mob. And I'm just sick of it. Just stop making Harvey Bullock a bad guy. He's not a bad guy. He's a good guy. Okay. As for the villains, I went through Harley. All the villains are pretty good. I don't really have any issues with any other villains other than like Harley. Oh, Two-Face. I do have an issue with Two-Face. Other than like Harley, Gentleman Ghost, I think that might be my favorite episode. That and the Catwoman episode. I think those are the two episodes. My only issue with the Catwoman episode is it kind of felt a little rushed. I wish we got more time with Catwoman and Bruce, with Selina and Bruce, and more time with Batman and Catwoman. Because in the show, Batman pretty much captures Catwoman, and then that's pretty much it. And then she escapes, and then Batman just captures her again, and then that's the end of the episode. Like that's pretty much it. Like it's really just a back and forth. But I do like Catwoman's characterization. I just wish there was more time with her, Bruce, and Selina. I wish we got more time with that. The Gentleman Ghost episode was cool. That was pretty much a Batman episode because this was like going into supernatural territory. So the cops really didn't have anything to do. So they really had no choice but to show Batman, which the show should be showing more Batman anyway. But, you know, whatever. Yeah. And then with Two-Face, my issue with him is with Harvey Dent is supposed to be the White Knight. He's supposed to be, in a way, I'm going to just put it in the Dark Knight terms, he's supposed to be the upbringing of Gotham. He's supposed to be the White Knight. He's supposed to be the Batman without a mask. He's supposed to be how the law could work without Batman. And in the show, they just make him a jerk. They just make him a jerk, and I just don't like that. I don't like that at all. And then when we get to his like transformation, it doesn't work for me because one, towards the end, he's pretty much been a douche, and then he starts going down in the polls, and then he starts trying to work with I believe it's Rupert Thorne. Let me check real quick. Yes, it's Thorne. Yeah, he works with Rupert Thorne. Rupert Thorne helps him, gives him more money as long as Harvey gives him the certain stuff that he needs as well. And then he'll rise him up in the polls. Eventually, Harvey will win. So eventually, throughout the show, he's just been a douche, especially to Barbara, because there's a couple of moments with him and Barbara. Once again, we get like way more cop stuff, way more mob stuff than Batman stuff. And then we go through, and then we eventually get to episode 8, where he decides to take money, and Rupert Thorne wants him to release one of his guys, but Harvey Dent states that he did something so bad, like embezzled money and took stuff from the poor and the rich. So Harvey Dent eventually gets to court, and then he tells the judge that I want him to be held on trial. I want him to be sent to prison, and Harvey Dent doesn't let him go. So one of Harvey Dent's henchmen, Tony Zito, you can tell who that's supposed to be. Tony Zito, pretty much splashes, and I like that they go back to the like pretty much how it was. I think this is how it originally was in the comics. I could be wrong, where it's just like acid that messes up Harvey's face, because we don't really get that. I think the last time we actually got that was in Batman Forever. Like that was really the only time we got that, because in the animated series, he had an explosion to his face. But yeah, and in that moment, that was like the only time we saw Harvey Dent like have like a really good, decent moment. But it doesn't work because it was short, and then right after he just becomes Two-Face. And then this is also an issue I kind of have with The Dark Knight, where they kind of just make it where Harvey just instantly becomes evil and just has the split personality disorder, like out of nowhere. Like he just does it. Like there's no, like, you know how in Batman the Animated Series, I'm sorry, I gotta keep, not to be a broken record, but in Batman the Animated Series, you saw tons of episodes with Harvey being a good guy. You saw him trying to help out. You saw him in the Pretty Poison episode, and then you get to Two-Face, the Two-Face episode. The first episode is dedicated to seeing Harvey and his conflictions. Now, you can say that in the animated series, there are plenty of episodes, like the POV episode, where you don't see Batman as much. But the thing about that is those moments where there's character-driven moments where it's not Batman work because the characters are actually interesting, and the characters are good, and the character interactions are good, and the characters are cool because the conversations are good. There's actually good motivations behind them. In this show, a lot of conversations are really interesting, and they bring a lot of 2020 social politics and other shit that just doesn't really matter. And I care more about, because there's a moment where I actually fell asleep because I wanted more Batman stuff. Like when Batman comes on screen, I'm locked in. Like the action with Batman is great. But then when we get to the Harvey Dent and all the other stuff, it just doesn't work. But in that Two-Face episode, you literally get Two-Face, you get Harvey Dent struggling with the two personalities. You see that throughout that whole episode. You see the duality. You see him struggling with his split personality disorder. And you see him trying to fight it and get through it and be a good Samaritan. But then eventually, once his face gets destroyed, it just takes over. And then in that part 2, you get full Two-Face. It makes sense. We've seen Harvey when he was good. We've seen him when he gets bad and starts going through the crisis, and then you see him full on Two-Face. In this show, the last 2 episodes involve Two-Face, but he's just evil now, and it really just comes out of nowhere for me. I didn't really like it that much. It was okay. I think it was cool in the 10th episode because you see him trying to become good and fight back on it, but from 8 to 9, it just wasn't I'm gonna say from 1 to 9. It just doesn't work because he was a douche. He's working for the mob. It's just everything Harvey Dent wouldn't do, until he probably would become Two-Face. Well, actually, besides working for the mob, he won't work for the mob. And then the worst part about it is, spoiler alert, he dies, and now Harvey Dent is just gone. Two-Face is gone. He's dead. And I'm just like, you just very much wasted this character. He's already dead. And I just don't like that. It really didn't work for me. And that's pretty much how a lot of these characters are. The new characterizations of these characters just don't work. They kind of, yes, changes need to be made. Yes, but the changes should only have been made to fit the 1940s. The changes shouldn't have been so drastic where you're changing the characters to the point where they're so unrecognizable that it's just like, why? Like the Penguin is basically the Penguin. You should have just either left him a boy or made him a girl, a boss girl lady from the 1940s. Barbara Gordon, you either should have made her into something completely different. You should have either left her a teenager, or I don't know. Just don't make her a cop. I don't want her to be a cop. I'd rather her be a teenager, and Batman grooms her eventually, and she becomes Batgirl. I would stick to that. We needed more Commissioner Gordon. There's not a lot of Batman and Commissioner Gordon moments, especially if this is supposed to be like, I think it's supposed to be like year 3 almost. So like, because there's a moment where in like episode, let me see, episode, what is that? 4, where the task force tries to go after him. And it's like, and then eventually Bullock and his partner release Firefly. And that's pretty much all Firefly was just a lead, like just a guy to just destroy, just to distract Batman while they try to capture him. But the characterizations, just some of the characterizations don't work. At first, I was going to get on the fact that Batman, my only issue with Batman was that I felt like at times he was a jerk. He was too much of a jerk, especially to Alfred. But then once we got to the last episode, and I gave the show a little bit of brownie points for this, he ends up because in the show, Batman's like pretty much a jerk to Alfred. Like, he's never really like, he only has one moment where he seems to genuinely care, and that's in the Gentleman Goes episode. Throughout the show, he just calls him Pennyworth, and then towards the end, the last episode, he finally calls him Alfred because he starts to actually listen and take in all the quotes and the messages and the inspirational stuff from Alfred. And I like that. That was actually good. I gave them props for that because at first I was about to get in Batman's ass for that. And I do like that they sprinkled in little moments. They sprinkled in like a little bit of moments where you see Batman humanized, where you see him save a kid from a burning building. You see in episode 8 where there's this girl, it's a girl that I forgot her name. There's this girl, let me see, what is her name? Oh wow, they don't even sell. I didn't even put down her name. There's this girl that's sucking out I'm gonna just say souls or life force out of kids because she needs it in order to stay alive. And he doesn't. One of the Carrie Kelly. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention they have all the sidekicks in here. I'll get to that after this. He saves one of the girls. He saved one of the girl that was like sucking the life force out of kids, and one of the Carrie Kelly, who was a sidekick, and I think I said her name right, from The Dark Knight Returns. She wanted Batman to let her die, but Batman says no. He carries her back and saves her, and Carrie Kelly ends up holding on to Batman's cape and then nods back. I like those little moments where they trying to like humanize Batman, but pretty much Batman he was a jerk for like a little bit of it, but then you saw his humanized moments. I did like that. Batman in this is pretty much like, I would say he's almost like Christian Bale, where like Bruce Wayne is clearly the mask. Like Bruce Wayne is clearly the mask. When he gets around Alfred, it's just straight bad business. But when he talks to other people, he's a playboy. He's the full-on playboy. Even when talking to Harley in episode 3, he pretty much puts on that full playboy persona. He doesn't let her in at all. All the sidekicks are in here. I don't like this either a little bit, but I don't think I'm thinking they're not going to do the sidekicks. Maybe they will. Who knows? But all the sidekicks are in here. They make Jason Todd is in here. Dick Grayson is in here. Stephanie Brown, Carrie Kelly. And they're just kind of like in this one orphanage. So Bruce Wayne ends up in the end of the episode, just walks in there and just sees all of them lined up on like a hospital beds because they had their life forces drained out of them. And it's just like sidekick heaven. But I didn't really like that. I would have rather you just had done the circus thing and just had him adopt Dick Grayson eventually. But I don't know where they're going to go with that. I don't think they're going to do that in season 2, but I guess we'll see, especially since they're already in the orphanage. So I guess we'll just have to wait. But I thought that was okay, but I didn't like it that much. It was all right. It was all right. Overall, I don't think the show was terrible. I don't think the show was boring. I don't think the show was fully bad. The show just has some issues, and I think they can find a way to fix it in season 2. You need to make this show more about Batman and show more stuff with Batman. Stop focusing on all the 2020 bullshit. Stop focusing on just the cops and Barbara Gordon and all her nonsense. focus more on Batman, focus more on stuff that happens in the 1940s and those problems and the technology, and make it more about how they have to use the technology of the 1940s to get through problems and how that limits them on certain problems. That's what you should do. That's what you should do. And I feel like this show also hinders because we're telling another story from the year, I'm gonna just say year 1 to year 3 perspective, where we have another early on Batman. And I think we need to stop it. I kind of like what James Gunn is doing, where Brave and the Bold takes place with Batman and his son Damian. I think we need to start, if we ever get another animated series or keep going after this, I think from now on, we need to let go of that year one. We got enough of year one. You got it with Batman. You got it with Batman Year One. You got it with Batman The Long Halloween, movies and comics. You got it with Batman Begins, The Dark Knight. You got it with The Batman. We don't need no more year one stories. I think that was like the only thing I gave props to Ben Affleck's Batman for, was it was a older Batman. The only issue I had with him was that he was a little too old and he killed people and he didn't have a Dick Grayson. He, like, his Robin was dead. Like, he had no sidekicks. Like, that was my only issue. But I would like it if we had, if I made a show, I would do either 3 shows. And I think these shows would be hits. Either you have a Batman that's in his 40s and he's either where Barbara's already Batgirl, Dick is already Nightwing, Jason is already Red Hood. They already happened. So maybe you show flashbacks later in the show. So you just have Batman in his either his early 40s. Like, we're going to say like 43, 42, 43. Or maybe like a little bit in his middle 40s, like 45, 46. And he's on the verge of getting Tim Drake, or he's on the verge of getting Damian Wayne. And you just have it be like that, where it's like Batman is about to leave his prime. That type of Batman. Or I would just make a story where Bruce is gone and you have Dick Grayson as Batman and then Damian Wayne as Robin. Or I would more than likely do this, where we need more of this because they don't give this man any love at all. And I don't know what they're doing. We need more freaking Batman Beyond stuff. I would make another Terry McGinnis type Batman Beyond story. That's also what I would do. I think that would make it better. I think those 3 options would be better than us keep doing this year one thing, because it's starting to get a little repetitive and get a little bit old because we keep Batman in his early years trying to learn how to be a better Batman. Like, we got that, But let me see. I don't think this show is better than an anime series. It's not even close. But I don't think it's that straight up terrible. It's just certain things they need to take out, and other things need to focus more on, like Batman and his characterization and him doing the detective work. I don't care about Montoya doing detective work. I don't. Especially if you're going to make how she does detective work boring and not interesting. And you pretty much just showing her you're just doing the straight up feminism thing and showing her trying to help just the females and men are bad. Like, I don't care about any of that. Okay. I don't need that in my Batman show. And if you are going to put it in there, I don't need that to be the focus. Okay. I don't need all that to just be the focus. We need to focus, but we do need to focus more on Batman. That's what I will say. That's what season 2 needs to do. We need to focus more on Batman. Have a little bit more interesting conversations with the cops. You can have the cops in there, but don't take the focus away from Batman. Don't take the focus away from Batman at all. You don't need the mob and all that. Just, especially if so far we're not doing no 2-parter episodes, or we're not doing 25, because it seems like we're just going to be doing 10 episodes and releasing all of them. That's also a thing I wish we did, like, weekly, because you really saw 10 episodes. This show is going to probably be forgotten in like another couple days or so. But yeah, you don't need to focus on the cops and all of that stuff. Just do just Batman. Just focus more so on Batman, because it wasn't that much of him. And I wanted more with Bruce Wayne and Batman and Alfred's relationship. Overall, I would give this show, I'm going to give it a 7. I was at first There's moments where I was like, I was gonna give it an 8. There's moments where I was like, I'm gonna give this shit a 6 or a 5. This shit is ass. But I think a 7 is perfect. Like a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. I think that works perfectly. I think that's a perfect rating. I don't think the show is terrible or unwatchable, but I don't think it's like super spectacular or great as some people are making it out to be, or at least how Bruce Timm is making it out to be. Like it's okay. It's okay. It could get better. It can be better if they just focus on the right shit and do more with Batman. I like the Batman detective stuff. I like the fight scenes. I like when Bruce, Batman, and Commissioner Gordon interact. I like that. That's what I want. That's what I want. Make it Batman, but in the 1940s. That was the one thing beneficial about the animated series, was that it didn't have a set period of time. It just took inspiration from stuff from the 90s and the 40s. It didn't give us an exact set period time. With this show, you gave us that. So you're going to either have to do the 1940s stuff or either do modern stuff. Either give us a 1940s show or give us a modern show, or, I don't know, just make something else entirely. Because you can't have both. You can't have modern stuff in 1940s. It just doesn't work at all. But 7 out of 10, I think that's perfect. I think that's the perfect rating. I think that pretty much the basis. The only thing else about the show is the Joker is coming. If you know me by now, you know I'm sick of the Joker. I don't want nothing else to do with the Joker. We already have a Joker movie coming out. I personally would still like a little bit of a break from the Joker, especially since we're getting a Joker movie, because it seems like the Joker is the only Batman villain that works for people. So, but hopefully if they do him right, he will be fine. You know, maybe he'll be a little better. Maybe he won't be. Maybe he'll just be one quick episode. Or maybe he'll just go to Arkham and then we'll see him later. Who knows? But 7 out of 10, that's my rating. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will catch you on the next one. Peace.